occasion. This production is called Farther Along, the music and life of Graham Parsons. Graham Parsons was born on the 5th of November, 1946, and his name at birth was Ingram Cecil Connor III. He was named after his father, who was a bona fide World War II hero. He was a fighter pilot in the South Pacific. And Graham's mother, well, she was the beautiful and lovely Avis Snively. And Avis's family came from Winter Haven, Florida. And they were also one of the wealthiest families in the state. Had lots of orange grove interests and so forth down in that area. And when Avis married Graham's father, they moved to Waycross, Georgia, where he took up a job at a plant that made orange crate boxes, shipped down to Winter Haven so they could put the oranges in them. When Graham was born, he was actually born in the hospital in Winter Haven. That's where his mother's doctors were. And she brought the boy back to Waycross to be brought up, and he had a fairly normal young childhood, although he did show quite a talent for music from a very early age as well. He took right to playing the piano, and he always entertained the family at parties and holidays and so forth. Everything changed for Graham Parsons, though, when he was 9 years old. The date was February the 22nd, 1956, when a couple of neighborhood girls invited Graham to go along with them down to the old Waycross Coliseum, and they saw a show that featured the king himself, Elvis Presley.
Well, that's alright, Mom. That's alright for you. That's alright, Mama. Any way you do, that's alright. That's alright. That's alright now, Mama. Any way you do. Well, Mom, she done told me. Papa done told me too. Son, that girl you're fooling with, she ain't no good for you. That's alright. That's alright. That's alright now, Mama. Any way you do.
that knew Graham back in those days said he was a completely different guy the very next day. He would never be the same after that night. They hung around after the concert. He went to the back door of the auditorium there. He got Elvis's autograph and everything. It was really, really a big, big night for Graham. Now, Graham was very good at entertaining all the neighborhood kids, and he did that a lot by having record parties. The big thing for Graham was on Saturday morning, he'd go down to the record store, and the local record store there in Waycross was at the Ware Tire and Battery. Oh, he'd bring home some Elvis, and he'd bring home Jerry Lee Lewis, and he'd bring home Fats Domino. And those parties were, of course, very, very popular. Graham's life changed, though, when he was 12 years old. That's when his father died. The report was that it was an accident. Most people knew that he committed suicide. Graham and his mom and his little sister Avis moved back to Winter Haven at that time, and that's when she met Bob Parsons and married Bob, and he adopted the 2 children, hence Graham Parsons. As a young teenager, Graham continued to play music. He got into local bands down around Winter Haven, and actually in Polk County there was quite a music scene at that time. He played in a band called The Legends that Jim Stafford was in. And Jim Stafford turned out to be quite a guitar player and well known over the years. And there was another fella that played with him down there, Bobby Braddock, who was a great country songwriter. So there was quite a music scene going on in Polk County. Graham soon grew out of that. He got into the folk music craze. They loved Peter, Paul, and Mary and groups like that. And Graham even started a trio with another guy and a beautiful blonde woman, and they did the Peter, Paul, and Mary thing as good as anybody. But what Graham really liked, though, was the authentic folk music. And he met some friends who also liked that authentic folk music, too, when he was on a talent show up in South Carolina on a local television station. One of the groups that was on the bill that night was called the Shilohs. Graham and the Shilohs became friends. They started playing some music together, and this is some of what they played.
I sat out this morning beside a garden stream. My heart was so troubled, boys, that I began to sing. I began to sing, I began to sing. My heart was so troubled, Lord, that I began to sing. Once I had a girl and I played all the time. Once I had a girl, she was trouble on my mind. Trouble on my mind, trouble on my mind. Once I had a girl, she was trouble on my mind. Chase the rising sun, chase the rising sun. Wander through the meadows and chase the rising sun. Well, I went to see my man, I asked her for her hand. She went running down the hill, said, catch me if you can. Catch me if you can, catch me if you can. She went running down the hill, said, catch me if you can. Run, Maggie, run, Maggie, run. Wander through the meadows and chase the rising sun. Wander through the meadows and chase the rising sun. Chase the rising sun.
Graham Parsons was invited to join the Shilohs. And the Shilohs started to get quite a bit of work. As a matter of fact, in the summer between their junior and senior years in high school, the boys got a job playing at an amusement park outside of Charleston, South Carolina, where they wore the striped shirts like the Kingston Trio and played about 5 sets a day. When the gig ended that summer, they had about a month before school started, so they packed themselves into Graham's car and they headed for New York City. They wanted to check out the folk scene down at Greenwich Village. And that was quite a scene that was going on at that time, too. The band that made that song that we just played popular was called the Journeymen. Of course, Graham and the Shilohs were big fans of the Journeymen, and the Journeymen were led by John Phillips, who turned out to be the leader of the Mamas and the Papas as well. When they got to New York City, they met John Phillips. They played some for him, and he liked what he heard. He suggested that they audition for a friend of his, and that friend's name was Albert Grossman. The same Albert Grossman who was Bob Dylan's manager. Turned out to be Janis Joplin's manager also. Well, he liked what he heard a lot too. He wanted to put the boys on the Ed Sullivan Show, and then he found out they were still in high school. Yeah, back in those days, they had laws about that sort of working arrangement, and Albert Grossman wasn't too happy about the situation, but nonetheless, the boys headed back to Florida, and Graham finished his last year of school at the Bowles School over in Jacksonville. One of the results of his time at the Bowles School was that Graham got selected to attend Harvard. It had nothing to do with his grades, that's for sure. There was another tragedy, though, that struck Graham before he headed off to Boston in college. The day he graduated high school, his mother died. But off he went anyway to Boston, and to soak in the scene of folk music up there in Cambridge. And he became friends with a fellow up that way named John Noose. John Noose and him began playing music together, and John Noose started also turning Graham on to some of the traditional country music of the time. Groups like Buck Owens, Porter Wagner, Merle Haggard, and so forth. Graham got really good at listening to that music, and he soaked it in very well. And he got real serious about his songwriting about that time, too. He wrote this next song, and some friends of his that he had met in New York later named Richie Furay and Jim Messina were quite fond of it. Of course, they went on to a great deal of popularity with groups like Loggins and Messina and the Buffalo Springfield as well. But this is the song that Graham played for him.
Silver shield, warm evenings, pale morning, vital blue, and the tiny golden rings that she wore up in her hair, brass buttons, still lies beside my bed. And the sun comes up without her. It just doesn't know she's gone. Oh, but I remember everything she said. Silver shoes. Warm evenings, pale morning, bottle blue. And the tiny golden pins that she wore in her hair. Brass buttons, green silks, silver shoes.
Graham Parsons lasted at Harvard for 1 semester. When he was asked about it later, he said he felt like he was there for about 15 minutes. Him and John Noose had formed a band by then, so they moved to New York City, got a house together, started playing music every day. Graham had a friend down in New York at that time that he had met when they first came up there. This fellow was named Brandon DeWild, a young blonde-haired boy in the movie. Brandon was also playing, became very fast friends. Brandon had a place out in the country of New York, and he invited him out there to play and hang out. And he went out to Los Angeles. About the meet out there, the next thing you know, he came to Los Angeles. He got to Los Angeles, showed him around, took him to meet Peter Fonda and friends like that. Peter Fonda actually put Graham's band into the... They are seen in a scene that takes place in a nightclub, playing. However, they're only listening to music. And while he was also in California, he wanted to meet some musicians, so Brandon DeWild decided he was going to take him over to Crosby. The day that they went over to meet David, David didn't happen to be at home. But David's girlfriend Nancy was there. Well, all it took was one look, and suddenly Nancy was no longer David Crosby's girlfriend. Yeah, she was Graham's girlfriend. Well, while Graham was in California, the band that he had formed, called the International Submarine Band, yeah, they were named after a Little Rascals group called the International Silver String Submarine Band. Very much of the time for that name, of course. They managed to get a record deal in California, and Graham made a record with the International Submarine Band that was called Safe at Home. This is one of the songs from that album.
Everybody knows it's all right.
was long to start making an impression on folks out in California. It's said that he used to carry around with him a little portable record player and all of his old country albums. You may have heard of a young lady by the name of Pamela DeBar. She's probably known as being the most famous groupie in the world. Miss Pamela, though, was a young teenager at the time when she met Graham Parsons. And she loves to tell the story about how Graham would come around and set the record player up. He'd get the George Jones record out. He'd say, "This is the king of broken hearts." Jim Lauderdale heard that story and wrote a song called "The King of Broken Hearts," too. Well, while Graham was in California, he also made quite an impression on a lot of the music folks out there on the scene. One Chris Hillman in particular. Chris Hillman was a member of a very famous rock band at that time called the Byrds. The Byrds were about to make a new album, and this new album was going to be a sweeping retrospective of American popular music, starting at the beginning of the 20th century and moving all the way up to the present time. They wanted a keyboard player, and that's what Graham auditioned for, and he got the job. Next thing you know, he started work with the fellows, and, well, that idea of a big retrospective kind of went away. What transpired was an album called Sweetheart of the Rodeo. That album is known for being the first country rock record, the first record that really combined the rock sensibility with the country sensibility as well. And of course, to make a record like that, they had to go to Nashville to record. Nashville was a pretty conservative town at that time. Long-haired musicians weren't seen from much and they were heard from even less. Nonetheless, though, the Byrds went to Nashville, and while they were there, they got scheduled to perform on the Grand Ole Opry. Well, they were really, really excited about this, and they really wanted to make a good impression on the Opry crowd. So they decided they were going to play 2 Merle Haggard songs. We're going to do one of those songs right now.
Won't you sing me back
to say the least. Some of them were crying out, "Cut your hair." Well, that's when Graham decided he was going to have his Hank Williams moment on the stage of the Grand Ole Opry. He stepped to the microphone and he said, "We were going to sing another Merle Haggard song for you, but I think right now I'd like to do a song for you that I wrote, and I want to dedicate it to my grandma, who I used to listen to the Grand Ole Opry with on Saturday nights." And this is the song that they played. When the Byrds came off stage, they got quite a reaction from the old Opry guard. Roy Acuff just about had a hissy fit. The host of the program that night was Tom Paul Glasser. And of course, when you go to play on the Opry, everything is very particular. It's timed out. If you tell them you're going to play 2 Merle Haggard songs, you better play 2 Merle Haggard songs. Well, needless to say, the boys heard the words that many show business people have heard over the years. You'll never work again in this town. Well, they might not have thought much of it, but the Opry seemed to. They named it one of the top 50 moments in Opry history when the Byrds performed that night. Well, the Sweetheart of the Rodeo album was released and touring followed. The band was off to Europe to perform. They played through France and ended up in London, England for their last show. And it was really rumored to be a big deal. They thought the Beatles were going to show up. The Rolling Stones were rumored to be in attendance, and they actually were. After the show that night, Keith Richards met Graham Parsons, and the two became very, very fast friends. Over the time that they were friends, it was said that Graham began to take on characteristics of Keith, the surly rock star. And Keith began to take on characteristics of Graham, the barefoot country boy. One of the things that resulted from the friendship between Keith Richards and Graham Parsons was that Graham Parsons did something that no one had ever done before and hasn't done since, in that he recorded and released a Rolling Stones song before the Rolling Stones did. This is that song.
Childhood living is easy to do. The things you wanted, I bought them for you. Graceless lady, you know who I am. to someday.
After that Byrds concert in London, Keith and Graham spent quite a bit of time together, and Keith began telling Graham about what was going on in South Africa. You see, the Byrds were about to leave London to perform in South Africa. And once Keith started telling Graham about what was going on down there with apartheid and so forth, well, the next morning when the Byrds awoke to pack and head for South Africa, Graham quit the band. Chris Hillman wasn't too happy about that, but Graham continued to hang out with the Rolling Stones, kind of became part of their entourage. He was with them for quite a period of time when they were in the south of France, recording the Exile on Main Street album. And it's even said that he appears on the album singing, even though he's not credited. Graham returned to California, and he made up with Chris Hillman. And the two of them joined a band called the Flying Burrito Brothers. They took up residence together in a house out in Laurel Canyon outside of Los Angeles in the hills, and they loved to hang out riding their motorcycles around up there. And they even wrote a song about it, and this is that song. Chris Hillman made 2 2 albums together with the Flying Burrito Brothers, and it wasn't long before Graham grew bored with the project. Unusual for somebody like that, but Graham just seemed to jump from one thing to another. Now, 1969 was a monumentous year in rock music, and there were 2 major events that took place that year, and Graham Parsons was part of both of them. One was the Woodstock Music Festival. Everybody knows about that one. Graham Parsons did not appear or perform at Woodstock. However, one of his songs was performed. Joan Baez did it. It appears on the Woodstock album. However, it does not appear in the film. And that is the song we're going to hear right now.
Well, he's a drugstore truck driving man. He's the head of the Ku Klux Klan. When summer rolls around, we'll be lucky if he's not in town. He's got him a house on the hill. He plays country records till you've had your fill. He's a fireman's friend, he's an all-night DJ, but he sure don't think much of the records he plays. He's a drugstore truck driving man. He's the head of the Ku Klux Klan. When summer rolls around, we'll be lucky if he's not in town. Well, he don't like the young folks, I know, 'cause he told me one night on his radio show he's got him a medal that he won in the war. Weighs 500 pounds and sleeps by his door. He's a drugstore truck driving man. He's the head of the Ku Klux Klan. When summer rolls around, we'll be lucky if he's not in town. Well, he's been like a father to me, and he's the only DJ you can hear after 3. And I'm an all-night musician in a rock and roll band, and why he don't like me, I can't understand. He's a drugstore truck driving man. He's the head of the Ku Klux Klan. When summer rolls around, we'll be lucky if he's not in town. When summer rolls around, we'll be lucky if he's not in town.
Graham wrote that song with Roger McGuinn, and that song was written about their visit to Nashville when they recorded the Sweetheart of the Rodeo album. While they were there, they made an appearance on a radio show called Nashville Now that was hosted by a fellow by the name of Ralph Emery. Ralph Emery did not think too much of the young folks, and he didn't think too much of their music either, and Graham kind of called him out on it. Oddly enough, too, after all these years, all the tapes of the Nashville Now programs are still in an archive somewhere. However, that particular program is not there. Well, there was another monumentous event in 1969 that Graham Parsons was part of. Before he quit the Flying Burrito Brothers, his relationship with the Rolling Stones got the Burrito Brothers booked on the Altamont concert. Yeah, the opposite of Woodstock. A movie came from that called Gimme Shelter, and the Flying Burrito Brothers are heard and seen in that movie performing this song. Parsons had left the Flying Burrito Brothers, he began to ponder a solo career, and he also began to think about a new project with a girl singer. He wanted to do the country duet thing, and once again Chris Hillman was instrumental in him. He recommended a young lady who was living in Washington, D.C. at that time by the name of Emmylou Harris. Emmy was singing in the clubs and bars around Georgetown and Washington. Graham went to hear her perform one evening, and he asked her to audition. He had one song in mind that he knew if she could match him with the harmony, she'd be the girl for the job. And this is that song.
Burst into flame.
musician. Graham invited her out to California to record with him, and she also began touring with Graham as well. The relationship between Graham and Emmy produced some of the most powerful songs that Graham had done to date. Most of them ended up on the next 2 records that he made that were solo albums. I'd like to do one of them for you right now. speculation and rumor about the relationship between Graham Parsons and Emmylou Harris. lot of people wondered if there was ever any romance between them. However, there wasn't. Graham was married at the time, and so was Emmy. That did not keep them, though, from the emotion and the feeling that they transmitted on stage when they sang those duets together. They had a special mic stand created for them when they went on tour. The mic stand had two forks that came off of it so that the two of them could face each other while they sang. This was made even more emotionally charged because at a lot of those concerts, Graham's wife was standing in the wings watching. Needless to say, there was a great deal of power and emotion between the two when they sang, and one of the most powerful duets they did was this one.
Love hurts, love scars, love wounds and mars any heart not touched, no strong enough to take a lot of pain. Take a lot of pain. Love is like a cloud, it holds a lot of rain. Love hurts. Ooh, love hurts. Well, I'm young, I know, but even so, I know a thing or two. I've learned from you. I've really learned a lot. I've really learned a lot. Love is like a stove, it burns you when it's hot. Love hurts. Ooh, love hurts. Some fools think of happiness, blissfulness, togetherness. Some fools fool themselves, I guess, but they're not fooling me. I know it isn't true. I know it isn't true. Love is just a lie made to make you blue. Love hurts. Ooh, love hurts. Ooh, love hurts. Oh,
Many of Graham Parsons' songs were autobiographic in nature, and none more so than one that came actually from a poem that a friend of his from Boston had written. This man's name was Tom Brown, and he'd written a sweeping epic story that just seemed to fit Graham perfectly. He put some music to it, and this was the result.
Won't you scratch my ear, sweet Annie Rich? Welcome me back to town. Step out on your porch or I'll step into your parlor, tell you how it all went down. Out with the truckers and the kickers and the cowboy angels, and the good saloon in every single town. Oh, and I remember something he once told me, and I'll be damned if it did not come true. 20,000 roads I went down, down, down. They all led me straight back home to you. So I headed west to grow up with the country. Across those prairies to those waves of rain. And I saw my devil, and I saw my deep blue sea. And thought about a calico bun, Cheyenne, Tennessee. Now we flew straight across the river bridge, last night 2:30. Sweet winter's lantern, goodbye, good day, as we went rolling through. Billboards and truck stops passed by the river St. Jim. Now I know just what I have to do. Oh, but the man on the radio won't leave me alone. He wants to take my money for something that'll never be sure. And I saw my devil, and I saw my deep blue sea. And I thought about the calico bun, Cheyenne, Tennessee. Now the music rang, I met up with him on his head elephant crown. Talked about a Portland and old Bible Belt lighted out for some desert town. Out with the truckers and the kickers and the cowboy angels, and the good saloon in every single town. Oh, and I remembered something he once told me, and I'll be damned if it did not come true. 20,000 roads I went down, down, down. They all led me straight back home to you. 20,000 roads I went down, down, down. They all led me straight back home to you.
Graham Parsons definitely had demons that he wrestled with his entire life. And who wouldn't? His father died when he was 12. His mother passed away when he graduated high school. These struggles came out in Graham's songwriting. As good songwriters always do, they write about the things they know and they write about the things that they feel. Not too many songs have as much feeling in them as the plea in this next song.
kind and wise with age. He read me just like a book, never missed a page. And I loved him like my father, and I loved him like my friend. I knew his time would surely come, but I did not know just when. Darkness in my time of need, oh Lord, grant me vision, oh Lord, grant me speed, oh Lord, grant me vision, oh Lord, grant me speed.
Graham Parsons had almost completed recording his second solo album when another loved one and close friend of his was suddenly taken. Clarence White. Some of you may remember Clarence as a member of the Kentucky Colonels. Clarence also performed with the Byrds on the Sweetheart of the Rodeo album, and he was quite an influence on flat pick guitar players all across the country, Tony Rice and many others. Clarence White was killed after playing a gig, loading equipment into the back of his car out in front of a nightclub. At Clarence White's funeral, there were lots of great musicians. Clarence had many, many wonderful musical friends. At the funeral service, though, there was no music. They went to the graveside, prepared to put the coffin into the ground, and there was still no music. That's when Graham took charge of things. And he began to sing a cappella, Farther Along. Bernie Ledden stood beside him and joined in, and the next thing you knew, everyone who was standing around Clarence White's grave was singing Farther Along. Graham finished his second solo album, decided he wanted to celebrate in one of the places that was very, very special to him when he took out to the Joshua Tree National Forest, which is a couple hours out in the desert outside of Los Angeles. And that's where Graham Parsons tragically passed away September the 22nd, 1973. Graham Parsons was 27 years old when he passed away. He left 6 record albums behind. None of those albums really sold very much at the time that they were released. But today, the list of people influenced by Graham Parsons is so long and just holds so many great artists. Country rock, acts like the Eagles, Poco, Jackson Browne, all influenced heavily by Graham Parsons and his music. Bless Graham Parsons and his music, and bless his heart.
We're on the way to tomorrow.
on the Lonesome Dove. Ed Bradley on the drums. Sue Cunningham on the piano. Kenny Higgins on the guitar. Jason Thomas on fiddle. Brian Homan on pedal steel guitar. Liz Williamson, rhythm guitar and vocals, and Lon Williams, bass and vocals. Thank you.
Randy Judy.
That was incredible.
That was, wasn't that great? Yeah.
What a venue, my God.